until they felt like they were emboldened to reinforce the wrong that they know they did. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Almost like, yeah, I did this and here's why.
Mm-hmm. And
But
then they think
other
that
than
here's
that,
why is enough
yeah, other than that,
to,
everything else was covert, you know. Everything
yeah.
else was really covert. And the thing about the narcissist that I'm not sure a lot of people know is you don't readily recognize a narcissist because the things that they do is so under the radar compared to someone that you can catch trying to get over. You know what I mean?
Yep. It says that they are charming.
Yeah.
It's so
So
under
it
the
takes much longer to even identify.
it can take years to identify if you don't know what to look for. I mean, if you're not educated on a topic, you could be with a narcissist for a few years and before and you start to realize it after, you know, it affects your health and your mental well-being.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
want to go back to the gaslighting thing. Like, no, we're kind of all over the place,
That's
but I just thought
okay.
of another point, like
Hmm.
where they really try to break you down.
Oh yeah.
They really try to break you down. Like, you could make mention of something you want to change, then they start attacking your character.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Or they
I
try to
remember,
flip it around like, well, if something's wrong with me, you got to admit something's wrong with you too.
right, right. Like, you can't
It's
fix
tit
the
for tat.
problem that's wrong with them and then move on to the problem wrong with you.
It's tit for tat.
Yep, big time,
And then
big time.
sometimes they can do a whole lot of silent treatment for no reason too.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I yeah, my one ex. Man, if I knew what I know now, he would have never been in the realm.
Preach.
Hmm.
If I'm telling you, because he, okay, so I'm gonna do some
If I knew what I
stuff.
if I knew what I knew now, I would have more hair.
So, the situation with him that kind of like, kind of like what I was telling you before with the whole gaslighting situation, where like you're kind of like you bring up a situation and somebody makes you feel crazy. Like I
Yeah.
know good and well. So when I was dating him, I won't mention no names, but when I was dating him, um, we were together not long, and he did a lot of lying, and it was a lot of like stupid.
Oh yeah,
And
I'm familiar with that.
it was
Like
like,
I'll
and
be the stuff.
you would catch it. I catch him in his lie, and it would just be like, oh, um, he did that because,
Yep.
Hmm.
and I was like,
Hmm.
how like you kind of let it go because it's just a little lie. It's not a big lie. It's a little lie. You caught him in it. Talked about it. Let it go. So with me and him, it just kept being little lies. Like it kept being little things, and it was just dumb things. Like it was stupid.
Hmm.
Like when I say stupid, meaning like it would be as simple as, "Hey, I had my candy bar sitting over here. Do you know where it went? No, you must have misplaced it."
Right.
And it's like, you ate it. Just say you freaking ate it. Like it's not
Yeah.
even that like
What
it's not
about?
that serious. So, but what the little lies turned into, it
Hmm.
started to become big things.
Hmm.
For instance, like the whole reason on why me and him ended up breaking up is because I found out he was cheating on me. And the way that I found out that he was cheating on me is my doctor told me he was cheating on me.
Hmm.
So I confronted him about it. And you would have thought that I just told him that I gave him something.
Man,
Yep,
And
it goes back to that thing I was talking about where they start accusing you of what they're doing.
I'm like,
right.
like, I have never felt so frustrated. And like, I'm not a person to like, put my hands on a man. I don't do that because, I don't believe in that. Females are different. But anyways, I was so frustrated because like I'm sitting here having this conversation knowing good and well that I didn't do it. It made me feel crazy. Like I had to literally sit back and think, and I'm like, why am I sitting here beating myself up over something that I know I did not do? It was the craziest thing. It took him almost 3 years later to come back to me and apologize.
Mm.
Oh my God.
And even at that 3 year mark, whenever he came back and apologized because he had started going to therapy and dealing with things in himself, is the whole reason on why he came and apologized.
Well, that I see that as accomplishment because usually narcissists don't apologize. They still see what they did as not being a big deal, no matter how bad it is.
I don't know I don't know him anymore. So I don't know if he did it just because or if he did it under, because it says that sociopaths, they have little conscious, but not really.
Mm.
So for me, I just every time I think about it, I get mad. I don't even want to talk about it no more. You won't make me go off,
I know.
girl. It's just because it's like it's very frustrating, and it's like it's a time in your life where you have to like come to grips with
Mm-hmm.
certain things that people have
Oh
done.
yeah, I know exactly
And
what you
you
mean.
know what?
Some
It
stuff that
messes with you mentally on such a huge level because you're trying to figure out what you did all the time, like what you did wrong. Or
you didn't do anything.
if it's not like what you did wrong, you're trying to understand how the conversation went left. How did we get here? Why did this make sense to you to say this to me? Like it's never settling when you're on the victim side of it. You're never settled in your spirit
Mm-hmm.
Right.
because you either feel at fault, like maybe you said something wrong, or maybe you need to fix this,
Mm-hmm.
or you're trying to understand how the conversation went left, or like you are always like discombobulated
Mm-hmm.
when you're emotionally abused. It
Mm-hmm.
really messes with your mind and your self-esteem.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's really debilitating. I mean, especially when it gets to the point where they make you feel like you want to respond to these issues physically, but you can't.
Mm, yeah,
Yep. You want
it
to put
really.
your hands on
And
people.
they know where you're at because they're observant. Narcissists are really, really observant. They'll watch every little thing, and that's how they like feed off of these reactions. It's like they feel like they need to keep a person wound up in their web.
Yeah. What about the psychopath? Anybody ran into a real life psychopath?
Nope, can't say I have.
Mm. Now you said the psychopath is hot-headed, right? So
Yeah.
basically you'd be like the type of person that kind of flies off the handle at the drop of a hat.
I
Yeah.
can see that.
Yeah. I can't say that. And if I have, I don't know them anymore.
I think like so there's this homicide situation that occurred in my hometown, and I've been following it just because I knew somebody that was loosely involved. They wasn't involved in like the killing part, but they knew the person. They like was the last person that talked to that person before they passed away, right? So because I know that, I've been kind of loosely following it, and it appeared they haven't found the person who actually did it, who actually killed the girl. But as I've been loosely following it, I kind of feel like I know who did it, right?
Mhm.
And there's some videos I've been watching, because this person goes live on Facebook, on YouTube, Instagram. They behave in a very psychopathic kind of way. And this was the girl's yeah, this was somebody that was related to the girl who passed. I mean, not related, but knew the girl who passed. So I'm like, oh, this dude did it. I know he did it. Like I know, like I can feel it in my gut. You know what I'm saying? And then there's somebody out of town who's posting like videos online, YouTube videos, like, did this person do it? Because look at how he's behaving. Look how he, they were this, they were connected in this way. So like I've been following this whole situation. It's crazy to watch a real live. If he did not do it, he knows who did it, or he is definitely a psychopath. I'm very convinced. But it's crazy when you watch
I
that.
know. I've only known of one from a distance.
Yeah, like from a
I
distance.
knew that person in high school. I don't know them now. That was like 14 years ago. Did they act like this in high school? Not really. They were more of like the quiet type of person. And then so I don't know if you heard of like a few, this was probably about 4 years ago. There was an incident in Plum at the convenience store called Bill's Pharmacy. And this girl and her husband apparently got into it with this other car full of people. And later on that day, she ended up being found at her house and like at her side door, dead. And her husband kept blaming this group of people. They had like uh a reward thing out for these people. If you've seen them in this car, they were whatever. But nobody suspected the husband. Not one person. And I said, just, like, how like people just speculate. I was
Mhm.
just like, I don't know if it wasn't people in that car. It seems like it's a little bit closer to home than that. Just because there was no forced entry, there was no like nothing was taken. Um, the kids were gone. Like, you know what I mean? Like it just seemed like everything kind of like lined up way too well. So,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
and come to find out, it was the husband.
Mhm.
He ended up killing her. For what? Nobody knows. Like there was no motive. That's the whole reason. Like when they were talking about, they were like the whole reason why they never suspected him, because there was no like
Motive.
they were fighting. She was leaving. There was insurance policy. Nothing. Like it was just nothing. Like they couldn't
Did he
figure
ever
out.
spill the beans on why he did it?
Huh?
Did he ever say why he did it?
Nope.
Wow.
Nope.
There was something going on between them, because murder just don't fall out the sky.
Well,
Unless,
unless
unless,
crazy.
unless
Yeah.
you gotta get this off your chest.
Mm-hmm.
Like you've been wanting to do this to somebody for so long
And
that
they
you
was
gotta get it out your system. And that particular day was the person The person was right there, and you was like, "It's gonna be you today."
I kind of like you, Sherelle, I loosely followed it for a while, but after they had mentioned that it was him, I stopped following it. So as far as like, they never said there was a motive. When I last time I read up on it, they never said there was like a motive for his actions. And like, I didn't read any further if they ever found out or if he ever told or anything. So don't get me to lying. He might have said something. I just never followed it after it came out that he was the one. Like, her parents had like his $50,000 reward leading to somebody's arrest in the case. Like, it was a big thing for a while, and it was just like, wow, that's craziness. Like, people are really that fucking crazy.
Crazy walking around here. I watched 2020, and I usually don't. I usually don't be watching
I
stuff
do.
like this because I like to keep after work. I kind of like after work to be drama free. Whimsical, light comedy, chilling, action. Not that kind of action, but
Yeah.
But anyway, I found myself watching 2020, and there's the similar story that you just told Alicia, where the wife and the children came up missing. And then the husband was the
You talking
last
about
person
that
we saw.
guy? That guy? You talking about the one guy from Texas?
I don't know where it was. Did he
He
killed a
killed
wife,
his wife
and
and two
it's
daughters?
yeah.
Yeah.
It was
He's
that same story.
Yeah, he's fucking nuts. I read up on that story. That nigga's crazy. Yo, he was bad shit crazy. But his
Now,
was all over his they had some marital issues though.
yeah, they had some marital issues. But what I noticed, and what the guy on the video said, was he was talking the day that they were looking for him. He was his body language was like this. And he's like, yeah, I don't know, maybe she went to the gym. I know when I last saw her, this and this and that, but his body language he was holding himself in, and they said that's a sign because you're trying to contain something. You're trying to hold yourself together. You're trying to hold whatever in and compose yourself. And then the other sign also was he brought everything back to him. His conversation was back to him, not about the girls, not about where his wife could be, not about he love his kids. Please find my. He brought it. Everything he said, he turned it around back to him. And like that, the one I'm following, in my hometown, dude is doing the same thing. First part of what he said was, "I know y'all want to know what I think about this."
Why would somebody say something like that?
Right. Or, "I'm sorry I wasn't there when you needed me to be." That's what you got to say when somebody you're close to.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was saying that's what you got to say when somebody you're close to goes missing or dies tragically. Those are the words you start out with.
Yeah, that doesn't sound really compassionate at all.
Mm-mm. And what's scary is these people are among us. And as these situations occur, they're breeding more people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's wild. Like, to be honest with you, like,
crazy people breeding crazy people.
amen to that one.
Crazy situations breeding crazy people.
It's a scary world we live in. Like, honestly, like, I had this conversation with a friend of mine not too long ago about how, like, before, it just seems like growing up, like, you could say something to somebody without having to worry about if they might follow you home and kill you. Not saying that it wasn't a worry, back then or something, but before, you could say something to somebody without having that fear of. But then
I experienced something like that. I mean, not me directly. I was I was living in Oakland, and
Like Oakland where? Like
like
Oakland.
I want to say, yeah, I've been out of Pittsburgh so long. I'm trying to
Oh,
remember.
so it was like Oakland and Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I didn't know
So
if you meant like Oakland, California,
no,
like
no,
okay.
Oakland and Pittsburgh. Um, yeah, I can't remember the exact area, but anyway, um, I was living in this apartment house, and there was this young 18-year-old girl that lived in the floor directly above mine. So she was the apartment above mine, and she was young and she was cute and she knew it, right? And I guess some of the people in that same apartment building was either from a halfway house, or had issues that they're coping with, stuff like that. And also sometimes outside of that building you might have your homeless people every so often. So there's this one bum or a homeless person that sits out there every so often, and he seen the girl and paid her a compliment, and he was like, "Hey, you a pretty young lady," right? And she responded to him in a very sarcastic and mean-spirited way, pretty much rejecting his compliment. And he didn't take it very well, so he followed her in the building and cut her throat, and she bled to death right in front of her door.
Crazy.
And I was like, I was just talking to this girl the other day, and now she's dead because of what she said to the wrong person.
Mm-hmm.
And who knows how, because you're thinking that. It's a
Mm-hmm.
couple other people that's thinking that now they have mental health problems
Mm-hmm.
and never came out of that. You get what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
you might have thought about it and never thought about it again, or somebody else thought about it. Now they obsessing over it. Now they got anxiety and depression. And
Mm-hmm. I mean, the way I was thinking about it was, you got to watch what you say to folks, because you don't know how they'll respond. I mean, that was my reaction, because you don't know.
sometimes they leave you no choice.
Huh?
Sometimes they leave you no like, you could have just been like, "Oh, no, thank you," because
Mm-hmm.
he approached you and didn't like that you said no thank you.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it could be as simple as that too.
But that's like that girl that got killed down at the one bar, and I want to say it was in Homewood.
I mean,
Galaxy.
I only know what she said, 'cause
Galaxy. Was
I
it the
knew what kind of
Galaxy?
person she
Where
was.
where she rejected his drink
Yep. Yep.
and he walked outside and killed her
Yep.
Good grief.
because she rejected his drink. That's crazy to
It is
me.
crazy.
Like, that's nonsense to me. But like, you can't.
I mean, that just sounds like pure rage for whatever reason. You know what I mean? To just want to just kill somebody at the drop of a hat.
You've been wanting to kill somebody for some time. And she's just the one who
Push the button that day.
tipped you over the edge. You've been wanting to do this for some time. That's what I believe.
Mm-mm-mm.
I don't know. It's because I look at like, the Jeffrey Dahmers and the,
Oh, that dude was eating people though.
oh, not Jeffrey. What is his name? Ted Bundy.
Okay, yeah.
And
Because
what's
Jeffrey Dahmer was he
what's
was
the other
killing
one? The
people.
other one that like had that cult of females. The frick is his name?
I think I know who you're talking about. I'm trying to remember it right now.
Where he made them believe that he was like Jesus, and
Oh
then
yeah.
he was he was like their savior. Like he, one point in time, he was saying
Washed them.
he was like, he, what the frick is his name? I just watched a documentary on him. That dude was fucking
Charles Manson.
crazy. Huh? Charles Manson.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. That dude was nuts. He
Nuts.
was worse than Ted Bundy. Like he was nuts. He
Nuts.
he had a whole group of people believe. Oh man, had them believe all kinds of stuff. Like he wrote his own like Bible, and like he had people believe in like aliens and that like um
I don't understand how people could get caught up in stuff like that, to where they just believe utter nonsense and then reinforce that belief themselves. Because they do get to a point to where they start continuing the brainwashing on themselves.
I
like,
think
well, you
with
know,
what you
whenever
just
they all
said,
went to prison, right? Them women, when they went to prison, they had to put them all together.
Hmm.
They had to live together. And like in the documentary, it was talking about how like they brought them together because they at first they separated them, but they weren't getting much from them. But when they brought them together and they started talking and filling them in on everything that transpired,
Mm.
they talked about so much. And that's what led them to convict him the way that they did. And it wasn't purposeful. They didn't purposefully like tell on him. They kind of like were telling their story. Oof.
I think, you know how you mentioned you don't know how they get like this? I think that brings about another conversation piece of I think when it comes to emotional abuse, mental, physical abuse, they choose their victims.
Mm-hmm. Oh
They're
yeah, for sure.
strategic
Okay.
about
So
the
they hand,
ones who are intentional,
mhm.
are strategic about who who would be a good victim.
Like who's recessive or
Well,
whatever.
have you
Who
ever
has
watched any of like the documentaries on Ted Bundy and Charles Manson?
I have
I have
also
too.
I you know, Harvey Weinstein, R. Kelly, all those type of like they are specific about who they choose.
Like
The
Ted
R.
Bundy.
Kelly situation is weird because it's like, I guess the parents were involved too.
Yeah, on the R. Kelly.
Yeah, that was weird because it's like, how do you willingly submit your daughter to this man? You know what I mean?
Money will buy you anything you
So
want.
if you get a person where they're vulnerable, they
Mhm.
Mhm,
got financial problems, and you can get them out those financial problems, they
mhm.
might be a likely victim to whatever you're trying to
Mhm.
do.
That's the same thing that whether we like it or not, that's the same thing that Michael Jackson did.
Big
He said
time.
his
Michael Jackson was
family,
guilty.
he wasn't guilty by, he was never guilty in a court of law. But we all know, we all know. I ain't stupid.
I mean, because they investigated this man for a solid decade and didn't find anything.
He was
Can I
one
just
of
tell
the
you that he was a genius?
he was very, very, very rich and very powerful.
And he was, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
he did buy the Beatles, so, and half of Sony,
Okay, and we're talking
and
about a
all of
man who would
Motown.
stand on stage and people passed out voluntarily. He will put on a glove and niggas is screaming.
The same
Grown men are screaming.
TD do the same thing. Now let me stop.
TD Jakes.
I'm
Is that
just
what
kidding.
you said?
Let me tell
Yeah,
you.
I'm just
So
teasing.
let me tell you. So whether we like it or not, Michael did the same thing. He took these families that were in need of medical assistance to save their children. And
Medical,
right,
financial, they have
right.
some kind of void. They see that predator sees the void.
I
So
don't
that
care.
makes the parents just as guilty.
You're right. Oh, I'm not knocking the parent. I'm not knocking the parent. I'm not making any type of justification for the parent
I
whatsoever. But what I'm
have
saying is
issues
when
in the
when these
world
people
aimed
find
at